Good afternoon, and we are on the dawn of the 2022 NFL season. Like and subscribe, hate and comment. This is my annual stupid thing where I pick every single game, and you make fun of me later on for one, doing this video, and two, when my predictions come up horribly short. So, what do? I literally pick all 272 games. I'm not going to show them all anymore. I'm going to tell you how all 16 teams in the AFC do in this video. Another video will be the 16 teams in the NFC, and then later I'll do a playoff prediction. I have 5 rules when I make this, and it comes from when I was in college with my friend Carl. We would literally pick all the games because we were tired of hearing people saying, "Oh, I knew they were going to win the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah." Put up or shut up. So this is what I do. He's passed, but I've continued it in his honor. I have 5 rules. First rule is no team goes undefeated. No team goes winless. Yes, there have been 2 winless teams since 1990, and of course, NFL perfect season 18-1, New York Giants over Patriots. But it's just not likely that it's ever going to happen. So somebody's going to get lost and somebody's getting a win no matter what. 2, I only have one team that can go 16-1 or one team that can go 1-16. Again, there have been years with been multiple teams in the 16 game era that were 15-1. There have been multiple years with 2 teams of 1-15 or less, but just again, don't think it's going to be likely. The third is, and I started to imply this rule 3 years ago, teams can have 1 tie a season. So since we have moved to the 10-minute overtime, both team getting possession format, ties are pretty common to have about 1 a year. And on that note, the last week of the season, I did look as to whether if 2 teams were going to make the playoffs, if a tie could be, I looked a little bit more likely. I did not put in a tie for that week, but I did think about it. Fourth rule is that in the last 2 weeks of the season, I do look at the standings that I have, and I created this using playoffpredictor.com. I've done that for the last few years. It gives you a running total, does it for the NFL, NBA, MLB. I think it's a great thing that they make. Literally keeps everything going. I do look in the last 2 weeks to see, hey, if that is going to have an impact. And the 5th rule that I always factor in is this team going to be affected by a quarterback loss before the season started. So it's taken me this long to do this video because the Jets, Zach Wilson's going to be out for the first 4 weeks. Of course, there's always the issues with Deshaun Watson. And then in the other video, we were looking at the signing of Jimmy G back to San Francisco, so that delayed was there as well. So let's begin. Oh, and it's not really a rule, but even though our fine legislature and governor signed it into law, of course, it was taken down by our courts. So, of course, in Florida, this is for entertainment purposes only. Alrighty, now that we've got that headache out of the air, let's go with the AFC East. And I'm going to start with the worst team first, the New York Jets. I actually think at the beginning of the season they will have a lot of losses because of the missing of Zach Wilson. I think they're going to lose about the first 7 games of the season, but I do have them with 5 wins, 12 losses. I have them beating the Patriots once. I have them beating Chicago. I have them over Detroit. And the last 2 weeks of the season, I have them over Seattle and Miami. And you'll kind of think where this is going with that. In the place above that, I have the Patriots at 10-7, and I have the Dolphins at 10-7. And when we get to the final 7, I'll tell you what the order is. For the Patriots, I have them with a 10-win season. I have them beating Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, the Colts, the Jets. I have them over Buffalo at home, Arizona, and Miami. for their 10. Now for the Finns, again, I also have them at 10-7. I have them starting strong at the right around the middle of the season. So I have them beating New England the first week, and then after a few losses, I have them beating the Jets, Pittsburgh, and then they go on a run: Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, the Chargers, the Bills, and then the last 2 weeks I have them losing because nobody falls apart like the Dolphins. And winning the division, I have Buffalo. I have Buffalo going 15-2. I do have them as the number 1 seed. And I have them winning opening night against the Rams tonight. I have them over the Titans, the Finns, the Ravens, Pittsburgh, KC, Green Bay, the Jets, the Vikings, the Browns, the Lions. I have them going into week 13, getting their first loss against New England. Then I have them again beating the Jets, taking an L against Miami, and then finally the last 3 games of the season have them over New England in a game that will not matter for Buffalo in the last week, and I have them also beating Cincinnati and Chicago. Now in the West, at the bottom, I have Denver 10-7. I think that the NFC is top heavy. With a few teams, the AFC is going to win a lot of those interconference games. I think the West is just a powerhouse. I have the 4th place team, Denver, at 10-7. I have Denver starting the season out very strong, beating Seattle, Houston, the Niners, Indianapolis, the Jets. But I have them with some weird losses. I have them losing to Jacksonville. I have them getting swept by the Raiders. I do have Denver beating the Titans. I have them over Carolina, the Ravens, Arizona, and last week beating the Chargers. Now the Chargers I have making the playoffs at 12-5, and I have them starting out weak, losing the first 2 games of the season, and then coming on very strong over Jacksonville, Texans, Browns, Denver, Seattle, Atlanta, San Francisco, Kansas City, Arizona, the Raiders. And then I have them struggling in the last few games. I have them beating Tennessee, I have them losing to the Dolphins, I have them beating the Colts, and I have them beating the Chargers. Now, for the top spot, I have Kansas City and Vegas, both at 14. It's going to be 13-4. I'll go over the tiebreaker when we get to the end. But I have the Chiefs starting strong, winning the first 4 games: Arizona, San Diego, Indy, and Tampa. I have them also, but then struggling for a little bit until around week 9. They'll come after the bye, and then they'll go strong over the Titans, Jags, Rams, and they're winning their last 7 games: Vegas, Denver, Seattle, Houston, Denver, and Bengals in reverse order. So I've been winning 7 of the last games. Now the Raiders, I also have at 13-4. I have them starting pretty strong. They're going to beat the Chargers and Cards. I then have them over Denver, KC, Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Denver, Seattle, the Rams, New England, and Pittsburgh. And I have the final Sunday night game being that KC Raiders game. I'll just answer it. Because it's that important, it will decide the top seed in the division. Because Kansas City wins that game, they'll have a better divisional record. They'll be divisionally tied, but they will have a better conference record, and they will win the West. Now we're going to go to what I think is the weakest division in the AFC. We're going to go to the South. I got Houston at 3-14. The only wins I have for Houston, which is going to come kind of late in the season, I got them beating Jacksonville. So I think they're going to be worse than they were last year when they were 4-13. I got them beating Jacksonville. I got them beating Washington, whatever we're calling them this afternoon. And I've got them beating Jacksonville again at the end of the season. Now, I am not strong on Indy. I don't understand the love of Indy. Matt Ryan is old. I don't get it. I just don't have a lot of love for Indy. I have them going 4-12-1. I have them tying Washington. And in their 4 wins, I have them over Houston in the first week. I have them over the Titans in week 4. I have them over Pittsburgh in week 12. And the last game of the season, I have them again beating Houston. And again, I have a divisional tie, but this time I have it 8-9. So I have a below 500 divisional winner who will host the best wildcard team. Will it be Jacksonville? Will it be Tennessee? I think that this will be the additional. If it's not Vegas and Kansas City, it will be this game for the last Sunday night game, or at least the most important game on CBS. I have both Tennessee and Jacksonville going 8-9. The difference will be that Tennessee will sweep Jacksonville and be your top seed. Jacksonville, I do have them struggling at the end of the season, but with the last 2 weeks losing. I have them losing to Houston, and then I have them losing to Tennessee. But for wins on the season, I have them starting out pretty strong over Washington, Indy, twice. The Giants, I have a random Denver win in there. The Ravens, Dallas, and the Jets. And for Tennessee, they take a step back. Probably the last year for the Tanchise. But I have them going 8-9. Very up and down season. I have them beating the Giants, the Raiders, Indy off of their bye, Houston, losing a bunch of games. Maybe that's where the Tanchise gets pulled. Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Houston, and Jacksonville again. So they win in week, for the win over Jacksonville, I have in week 18. And I have them winning it in week 14. And then the North. So in the North, we've got Pittsburgh at 3-14. No quarterback. I have no love for Trubisky. The only wins that I have Pittsburgh in is against the Jets, the Saints, and Atlanta. For Cleveland, I have them 8-9, and this is going to be the last year of Deshaun Watson. I do think they start off strong because they have some bad teams to play at the beginning of the year. I think they'll beat the Jets in Pittsburgh. And Cincinnati, they'll come out of their bye and lose to the Dolphins. And then I have them kind of going on a late season run. I have them, once Deshaun Watson is in there, assuming he plays Houston, and then they win the last 4. Baltimore, Saints, Washington, Pittsburgh. And then I have my 4th 10-7 team with the Baltimore Ravens. I have them starting the season off beating the Jets and Finns, which should play into tiebreakers. And then I have them losing a good number of games. They beat the Giants, Cleveland. They beat New Orleans. They'll beat Carolina, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. Now, the top team... Oh, and then I have the Bengals. The Bengals will go 12-5. They'll be the 3rd seed. They'll start off strong. They'll beat Pittsburgh, Dallas, Jets, Finns, Ravens, Saints, Falcons. They will lose in week 8 to Cleveland. They'll beat Carolina. They'll come off their bye and beat Pittsburgh. You'll think they'll be very strong. I think they're going to struggle at the end of the year, have them losing their last 2 games, including a must-win against the Ravens, which would be very little importance to them on seeding. But I do have them beating New England, Tampa, and Cleveland at the end. So the top seed is Buffalo. The 2 seed is Kansas City. The 4th seed I have is Tennessee. The 3rd seed is the Bengals. The first wild card team is again Vegas. The second wild card team is LA. So now we have 4 teams at 10-7. First tiebreaker is between the Dolphins and New England. You got to get rid of that one. Both teams are 3-3 in the division. Miami, though, has a conference record of 7-5. So does New England. But on the common opponents, they get ahead. That common opponent factor. So then it becomes Miami, Denver, and Baltimore. Baltimore has a win over Miami. They did not play Denver. And that helps Miami. So you then get into common opponents and conference. I have Baltimore at a very weak 6-6. In conference, Denver is 6-6. Miami is 7-5. Miami is your 7th seed. So in the first round of the playoffs, it'll be Kansas City versus Miami. It will be the Bengals and Chargers, and it will be the 13-4 Raiders going on the road to the 8-9 Tennessee Titans. Like and subscribe, hate and comment. In this corner, you will have the NFC. In that corner, you can jump ahead to the playoffs, or you can look at some of my other videos. I haven't done any in a while. Thanks.